All right, the recording has started, and this is the February 9th, 2021 Rook community meeting. And so we'll start off with our releases and milestones. We do not have anything planned for 1.4, so we'll go ahead and jump down to a 1.5 patch release that we have planned for later on this week.
Yep, it'll
Travis,
just be
you wanna fill us
following
in
the
on some important stuff there.
Just to follow the bi-weekly cadence of patch releases. I think we have a few things coming in, nothing super urgent that I can recall, but it'll be good to get more fixes out there later this week. Yeah, nothing special that I can think of. That'll be 1.5.7.
Yep, that'll be the .7 patch release. Okay, that sounds good then.
Anybody else have questions for 1.5?
All right, we can move on down to 1.6 then, and the next, minor release technically, but it's more of a major release, right, compared to the patches at least. But we'll do semantic versioning talk here, so it is a minor release.
Minor release. Yeah.
Minor release it is. All right.
No breaking changes.
Still planning the quarterly cadence here. Okay.
Yeah, it's a little over quarterly since our last release was what, November? Or was it December? I'm losing track already. I think it was November, before KubeCon. Right.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you factor in the holiday break as well here too, right?
True. Yep. Yeah, nothing much big to update on 1.6 though. I think we've got the roadmap in place. We're just chugging along with the new features and things.
Is this board up to date? Are there more items here that are planned but are actually being worked on right now?
I haven't updated this for at least a couple of weeks, so it's an ongoing thing to make sure it's up to date for sure.
Blaine or Alex or anybody there, any these issues here that are actually in progress you know of?
First one is OSDs in parallel.
Yeah, I'm working on the upgrade.
Yeah.
OSDs in parallel, or at least working on a design for that.
Yeah, let's put that in progress then there. All right, awesome, Blaine. Is Seb's working on one of these already? He's got a couple. Oh, he's the author of these. He's assigned to this one.
Right. He's doing a few things with CFFS mirroring. I saw one of those issues. I'm not sure if that particular one is in progress though. Yeah, I'll put an action item to follow up after this and clean up the board. Cool. I started looking at the 1.5 board this morning, but then got distracted before I got to 1.6.
Sounds good. My eyes have finally gotten, or my brain, I guess, has finally gotten adjusted to dark mode on GitHub. I've had it enabled for like at least a month, but transitioning to find where the different links are, where the buttons are, and stuff like that it looks like a different website now. And it took me a month, and I'm finally navigating it okay again. Yeah,
it's a different look. You're throwing me off, Jared.
That's why we don't teach old dogs new tricks,
I'm too old for that.
You just didn't try.
There's still a few pages which don't have dark mode. So if
really?
it goes a bit deeper, I think the GitHub Explore page or something, only minor pages are not in a dark mode. Or at least
that's funny.
Well, I found it out, I think, in the middle of the night to collect
it. Just nice. That's funny. Okay. All right. So yeah, we'll follow up to get the board updated there. But yeah, work is obviously it's about the middle of the release cycle for the 1.6 upcoming release. So things are in progress and things are happening there. Any other questions on the milestones themselves before we move to the other topics? Okay.
Nope.
All right, well, let's hop on into the community topics then. Travis, you have an update for us on some of the providers removal and deprecation?
Yes, exactly. So last meeting we talked about I think we're in a place everybody agreed. We're moving CockroachDB, EdgeFS, UGByteDB. UGByteDB responded officially and said that they do want to officially support their newer operator in another repo. So those three have been now removed from Rook in master. That's not been removed in Backstream 1.5. We'll just leave them there. And the main readme's been updated to point out that they're deprecated, and there's also a link to the new UGByteDB operator replacement for those interested. And the remaining action item here is really to update the website to remove them from rook.io. So I have that action item still. Maybe by end of day I'll open that if I'm lucky.
I have something to raise about this, if we can.
Yeah, Mike. Good to see you again, by the way, Mike.
Hey,
Welcome.
thanks. Thank you so much for that, Jared. Yeah, I wanted to, because I'm kind of out of the loop, so please excuse this question with how far you are on this, Travis. I just wanted to ask, like, what are the plans exactly in terms of like long-term plans with Rook in removing out these providers? You and I have had topics about this before, and if I may give kind of two different scenarios that can happen here for Rook. The first one is we go about removing these providers and we have these joint boofs that we're planning with Ceph, which I totally see is in alignment with these plans here. Even as a person who serves as a community manager for both Ceph and Gluster, okay, I have to be fair here and think about these other providers. And if we go this direction, it may, in the long term, change Rook's image, if you will, with the community. So we will not be accepting, we will be removing these providers to the outside public and just supporting Ceph. And that's what the scenario will be there. The second scenario, though, I don't know what your plans are in terms of this, but this is the one I would recommend personally. And it is remove out these providers. Sorry, I keep saying drivers. They're drivers in my mind from a previous project. So providers, you remove out these providers and then you will end up with just Ceph. And then that's the image, and Rook, I will predict, will lose a lot of the attention that it has, because people love to see that they're not forced to one thing. They like flexibility. It's one of the #1 things in both OpenStack and Ceph user survey is flexibility of not lock-in. This is a form of lock-in to an open source project. And I would just say, if you're going to remove those out, have messaging ready and things in place for providers who are ready to step up.
Yeah, and I don't know if you have access to the link in the chat I just put there, but in the last couple months, we put together and had discussions about, well, what are the expectations that we have for providers? You know, what does it mean for a provider to be part of Rook? And so we put together that doc, reviewed it together, and I feel like the approach will be it's welcoming to storage providers who are, I'd say, honestly, who are more or vendor neutral. So we've got
yes.
I mean, Ceph has multiple vendors that support it. There's an NFS operator. I still see that as staying because there is interest from multiple parties. There's and then the third one is Cassandra that is still there. There's interest there. I'd like to get more interest from the owners of Cassandra, because they're really the ones who know how things work.
Yeah.
And yeah. So, and that's where the challenge has been, really. If the owner of the storage provider, that data layer, if they're not coming to the Rook community and participating, it's special. Every provider is specialized enough that we as generalists just haven't been able to support it.
Okay, I apologize. I will read this in detail and this document, and I would actually recommend then for DevConf coming up on 18th through the 20th, right, for the Rook booth, I would recommend you have a separate booth then, not joint with Ceph. Ceph will get you people coming to the booth for sure, and also for Rook on its own. However, though, I think the messaging you want to spin here is that you don't want to have a joint booth with a provider. I would love to have Rook part of the Ceph booth. I'm not saying that's a change of plans here. I'm just recommending that if you want to spin this message correctly, you want to have a separate booth.
Well, and it may depend on the conference too, because like with KubeCon, it's just clear that, well, yes, we'll have a Rook booth. For others where it's not a Kubernetes specific booth, I mean, Rook to support its own booth, I don't know if we'll have the manpower for that, for example.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. I don't want to spend time on that, but I just wanted to give you the recommendation there. I'll carry out the plans on keeping it Rook and Ceph for DevConf.
But yeah, it's a totally fair question, and I want to make sure we've got a good message around this. Like we want to still be welcoming, and
this is what I do for a living. So
exactly.
I mean, you can take it. You're in charge of it, so I'll spin it still as Ceph and Rook.
Yeah. No, I totally missed getting your feedback on this when it was merged or created like a month ago. So, yep, would have your
feedback. I totally agree, Travis. You had this plan carried out, and ideas I have can come later. That's fine. I'm totally in agreement here.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Yep. Yeah. Thanks for all the feedback too.
Yeah, that's yeah, I definitely appreciate the feedback as well too, Mike, and your opinion with your expertise, in this kind of this area with these type of issues before too. So that is very, very welcome to Mike.
Thanks, Jared. Thanks everyone for the time. Thank you.
Yeah, Travis and I met also, was that last week, Travis? We got to hang out a bit, steering committee and
yep, exactly.
chat. Yeah, we caught up on some of these issues as well too. Talking about the future direction and being welcoming to other storage providers and investments that can or cannot be made in terms of the Rook framework itself and the comparison to more generalized operator frameworks, like operator framework itself and operator SDK, controller runtime, stuff like that. So it's the landscape has definitely changed over the 3 years or 3+ years that the project's been running. So it's definitely something to be aware of, and I think like the steps that Travis took to formalize some of the engagement with providers was a good start there, to kind of address it more directly.
Yeah, yes, as far as adding,
totally agree.
Oh, go ahead, Mike. Yeah. Another potential storage provider is I've talked to someone in our migrator team about the Samba operator. There's some interest, at least from our team anyway, to have some people come work on the Samba operator. So we'll see about Rook integration at least, but that's another example, I guess, of a vendor neutral kind of multiple people being interested in it type of thing.
Cool. Alrighty. All right, so I had an action item last meeting to follow up on our Docker Hub should be in here. Status of our open source application with Docker Hub. To follow up with them, so I pinged them and got a response back, and they will apparently be looking at our application this week. So I hope to, by the end of the week, get a response on them around if the application's approved or if there are other concerns or what the status of that is there. They did bring up something interesting, and they weren't entirely clear on the exact requirements here, but they said that they wanted to make sure that that in order to be approved, the project can't be sponsored by anybody that's making money off of it, which was a very vague requirement there. I wasn't sure, so I'm trying to get more details from them on what are the exact conditions that that, because that's a very broad categorization of like this, so if somebody's paying for like CI/CD system, or somebody like like helps like a booth at a conference, is that being sponsored by a company that's making money off of it? I didn't. So there was like a one sentence thing, and it seemed like it was really open ended, that they could potentially deny applications with minimal jurisdiction. I don't know, but yeah. So that is one open thing here to be worried about, or be aware of, at least as they're looking at the application.
So that one line said you can't be sponsored by someone that's making money off it.
By a company that's
'Cause-
making money off the project, yes.
Interesting.
So I asked for more clarity
that's
on
pretty
that.
like-
Yeah, like for example, at least how I understand it would be something like, well, for example, Cloudical, like we have customers using Rook and we support them with Rook Ceph, or like I even read it or in similar ways with the upstream product. Like, let's see what they're going to say.
Yeah, it seems really a very wide net that like a lot of projects just wouldn't be approved if they were really strict and as broad as that one sentence led me to believe. So we'll see.
I think that this is really creates a bad effect in open source projects in general. It might lead open source projects to create a flood of foundations that are unbiased, that then can accept the money.
Yeah, aren't we technically also more or less, well, supported by the CNCF, so to say? So
Oh, yeah, we're owned, like
they're
the
them,
copyright,
so-
the IP, that's owned by the
Yeah.
CNCF. That's that we don't know. Nobody else owns that but the CNCF.
Right.
Jared, do you know who over in Docker is a good contact about this?
Yeah, 1 second. I can get you Mike, who responded to my application request. Let's see. There
I
we
don't
go.
want to step on any toes here, but I think I could make an argument for Rook.
Yeah, no, yeah, your involvement is super appreciated, Mike. No, yeah, absolutely, man. This is and I'll put this in the agenda doc here. Contact info that we're working with here is William Quiviger. That's a solid name. Nice, Quiviger, like that.
Cool, thank you.
Alrighty.
That application request, was that just over email or?
Yes, that was only email. Yes. Well, the application request, they had an official form that I filled out in October or something a while ago, and then I poked them it's as an action item from the last community meeting, so within the last 2 weeks. And then they said that thank you for following up. We'll look at it and we'll be getting to it next week, which was this week.
Honestly, Jared, I would spin it to them exactly the argument I told you. Just like, you're going to create a flood of foundations because there's passionate open source projects that are going to figure out a way to how to be part of the program. That's all. It's actually irresponsible on their side of not thinking of consequences here. There are articles written about people against the idea of open source projects creating these flood of foundations. Do you need a foundation? Probably not. So
yeah, that's a good point, Mike.
By the way, I don't think I've heard of any issues from the community being rate limited, but does anybody feel like we've been rate limited or it's been an issue? I'm just curious.
I
why
still
it hasn't
haven't
been,
heard.
right?
It's I think I had mentioned it last time. Like I don't think well, people are going to be too affected by that. It's at least like, I don't know. I think like every company I've been to was like, yeah, we have a registry to cache images or something from the outside world, to put like that, not just like Docker Hub. So it's
because our repo has what, close to 200 million polls, so that's pretty significant.
yeah, like
So
just to maybe throw a bit more of like a, maybe not necessarily like the point of, hey, we're open source in there, but having it a repository, the registry there for the image with like 200 million polls is like the, hey, look, the image is being used, kind of, like it's, yeah, well, let's see what comes out of it.
Oh, I think that high number of use is probably something that they point against us. Is they're trying to reduce their operational load.
Right.
Like, see, yeah, no, we're cool. We use up a lot of your bandwidth.
Now, still, like then again, you could argue that it's like let's move away from Docker Hub and go to, I don't know, Cray or something. Oh yeah, let's use GCR if we get free registry there or something. Like it's you could always more or less also see it as something like that if you think about it. Like
yeah, there are other options.
We gotta get those images uploaded somewhere that people can use. Like there's no way around in the end. So, but as I said, like I don't think anyone really had any issues, and I think I never heard anyone say, "Yeah, it was rate limited."
Yeah, well, that's good at least.
Even with other images, so it's well. Let's see.
Yeah, we have that at least.
Okay.
Cool. Travis, do you want to give us an update on our conversation with Amy yesterday in the KubeCon maintainer track?
Yep, we met with Amy yesterday, and she pointed out that we were overdue for submitting our maintainer track session. Like, oh, missed that email right after the holidays. So we are able still to get that in. I just need to get her the speaker info, and looks like our 4 speakers will be myself, Seb, Blaine, and Satoru. And thanks, Alex, for giving up the position you've had for so long on that as well. So
I've been holding some talks at smaller meetups. Like I don't think I'll ever get used to the completely online conferences. So it's well, I need to see the people.
So we've still got, I think, at least 6 weeks to record the talk. It's a ways out, so we'll coordinate how that content will work out.
And so Travis, you'll respond to Jesse, I think, who said that yes, it's okay. We just need this information. You'll respond to Jesse with all of that to get us registered.
Exactly. Yeah, I think I have all the info. I just asked Satoru for his title.
Cool.
I might make something up those if he doesn't respond, or he can update it later.
Yeah. All right. That sounds great. Awesome. Yeah, I'm glad that Amy mentioned that yesterday. That was a nice coincidence of timing to get a reminder from her the day after the deadline.
Yeah.
All right. Stillbot.
And Stillbot, just to follow up from our last meeting, it is enabled and working again, and it's actually happening at noon Pacific. I'm sure you're all noticing the flood of emails around that time, but it has caught up and calmed down. Anyway, I think it's all good. Just let me know if you see any issues or have any other thoughts on parameters we should give it. But
awesome. Yeah, thanks for getting that set up and working again.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then just a final note on this, that the buckets for our charts and binaries were migrated over successfully a little bit ago. We did the 1.5.6 release that successfully used the new targets and buckets. So with a successful release behind us or under our belts there, we went ahead and decommissioned, deleted the old buckets with all that content from the Upbound's AWS accounts. So that's completely cleaned up and the migration is complete now, I think. There's no more follow-ups on this.
No more Rook artifacts in the Upbound account?
Nope. Well,
that's good.
All right, nice. Okay, any other topics, for community topics or PRs to discuss or anything like that? Okay, well, we've got 2 action items here that Travis will be following up on. And actually, let's go ahead and make sure that one is on there too.
I get 3.
Uh-huh.
Lucky number.
Maintainer track information. All right, yep. Make it a nice even 3 here. Cool, okay, so that's all the action items that we'll follow up on. And if there are no more items for discussion, then we can go ahead and break off for the week.
All right, thanks everyone.
Right, thanks everybody, appreciate it.
Talk to you later.
Thanks, bye.